Virtual Edition. My name is Lori. Today we're going to change our hive up a bit and we're going to take it into the kitchen where I'm going to demonstrate how to make European cabbage rolls. Although these are European cabbage rolls, there are many different cultures in Europe that make cabbage rolls, and each of them are slightly different. The cabbage rolls I'm going to make today have a German twist to them. Here are the ingredients you're going to need. The recipe calls for 2 pounds or just less than 1 kilogram
of ground pork
and the same of
ground beef. Sour cabbage is what makes this recipe very unique. This is one way to purchase it. There's also a jar that you can buy your cabbage in as well. You'll need a few strips of bacon, garlic, 3 eggs, onions, whole grain white rice, and the recipe calls for tomato juice. I actually use a clamato juice for a little bit of a different taste.
Let's start getting all of the ingredients into a bowl. Ground beef, ground pork, garlic, onions. The rice has to be rinsed twice. To mix all this together, I always put on gloves. I just feel like it's far more sanitary to have some rubber gloves on when you're getting your hands this deeply into a mixture. It's really important that we get all of the ingredients equally spread out into the mixture. This is the interesting part. I've taken the sour cabbage out of the bag and it looks like a regular head of cabbage, but it has been pickled in a barrel prior to selling it. So we peel off the leaves gently and prepare them for making our cabbage rolls. These leaves are very big, so you'll see that I do cut these in half. I like my cabbage rolls to be on the smaller size. This head of cabbage would make a full recipe of cabbage rolls. I'm only making half a recipe of cabbage rolls for this demonstration today. So I won't be needing the entire head of cabbage. I'm going to put some of my cabbage onto this tray while I cut it and prepare to roll the cabbage. When I cut, I like to cut on the vein because it can be rather tough and makes it a little more difficult to roll. So if I cut along the vein, it helps with that issue. And these cabbage leaves, being quite large, cut in half, are really the perfect size for making a cabbage roll. This one is a bit smaller, but I think it'll still be a fine size. Whatever size you make your cabbage rolls, you want to keep them all uniform.
And that's because they're all going to cook together in the same pot, and you want them to cook evenly. If you have large and small ones, the small ones will be complete and the large ones will not be cooked through yet. So it is important to make sure that they're all of a uniform size, whatever size that is that you would like to make. So take some of your mixture. Like I said, it's completely up to you how large you make these, but this is the size that I generally like to make. Start at one end and roll as the name cabbage roll would suggest. Take the loose ends at this end and tuck them into the end of the meat. This end is a little more difficult because, like you saw, we used the veins of the cabbage, but generally you can manage to put that tucked in neatly as well. So there's our first cabbage roll. Put it inside a pot and keep rolling. Now we pour the tomato or clamato vegetable juice into the pot just below covering the cabbage rolls. And then we add some bacon slices to lay over top. And this just cooks on top of the cabbage rolls and adds an extra bit of flavor, like so. Now we're ready to put them on the stove. So take your pot over to the stove, put it on a large burner, and we're gonna set the heat to high. Once it comes to a boil, we'll turn it down to simmer, leaving it uncovered, and let it simmer for 4 to 5 hours. Starting to boil, so I'll now turn it down to simmer. They've been cooking for 4 hours, so now I'll remove and discard the bacon. They're now finished. And here's the recipe that has been handed down for many generations.